Hi, Mia. Can you hear me okay? Thanks. Hi, Heather.
Hi, how you going?
I'm good. Are you having your breakfast?
No, that was hours ago.
Hours ago. You're just munching on dry crackers.
No, it's spare Easter eggs I've had in my cupboard time.
Oh, okay. I'm going to start recording now.
So I've got 30 people here so far. That's good.
Yep.
Good morning, everybody.
Well, remember, folks, that if you want to send to everybody, you need to change it so you're going to panelists and attendees, not just panelists.
Hi, Kayla. Hi, Cassandra. Did everyone have a nice weekend?
Do you have hosting control?
Do I?
Yeah.
Zoe, I do have enough to share with the class. I always have enough to share with the class. So
I want one.
I've got more as well. This is just the tip of the iceberg. It's in my bag, but I didn't bring it into this room. So if anyone is here in the CT building today, come on down. I'll give you a treat.
Sad face.
So if you're not here, you can't have a treat. But if you come down to me, I'll give you a little treat.
But they're not allowed in there.
If you come to the CT foyer and let me know, I'll come up and give you a treat. I always have treats for my students. Okay, here's your virtual treat, Cassandra. There you go. It was nice meeting you too, Cassandra. Okay, on Friday. So Peter, on Friday, I met a couple of the students. They saw me in the car park and they said hello to me, which was nice.
Yeah.
And where did you go, Cassandra, if you went away with the caravan? Oh, Bulladilla. That's nice. Was it cold? Yeah, I thought it would be cold at night time. Oh, you went surfing, Kayla. Awesome. Where, in Newcastle? Are you a good surfer or just for fun? Zoe, you should, if it's a medical reason, you should provide a doctor's certificate. The RAP on itself is not a reason for an extension. The RAP gives us context for the extension. So you still need to provide documentation. So yeah, if you have a doctor's certificate, fine. If you don't have documentation, I always tell students to write a little Word document out and attach that with their request. Okay, thanks, Zoe. Oh, well, that's good, Kayla, that you surf for fun. I've never surfed before, ever. I think I would fall off the board.
You should try wave skiing then.
Yeah, I think I would fall off that too.
Yeah, you're strapped to it. You can't fall off.
That's even worse, being strapped. Oh no, I wouldn't like that at all. That would stress me. I'm getting stressed out thinking about that. Well, it's 1 minute to go till 9 o'clock. This must be our lowest attendance ever. I'm surprised because I said we were even talking about it Zoe, are we going to be talking more about how Thursday is going to be run today? Zoe, I'm not really sure what you mean. So in a minute, can you put your hand up and we'll have a chat about what you mean? In fact, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you. If I can share, just let me have a look at. Okay, just give me a second while I sort out this, because as soon as I share it, stuffs it around on my screen and chat. Okay, so oops, just let me, oh gosh, this is so annoying. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to morning, everyone. Let's get this bread. What does that mean, Dylan? Anyway, good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 8. It means let's all try hard. Oh, okay, Dylan. Let's all try hard. I'm trying hard. Okay. Hi, Peter. How was your weekend? I hope you had a good weekend and looking forward to the week ahead.
Are you talking to me?
You're the only Peter I'm going to talk to today, Peter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'm good.
Good. Excellent. So welcome, everybody. Straight after this session, we have SACO officer, Dr. Suzanne McQueen, talking at the Building Successful Pathways, which Melanie sent you a link to yesterday. So what is a SACO? It stands for Student Academic Conduct Officer. So she's going to run you through, what's academic integrity, what's plagiarism, what's collusion, what's some things about Turnitin. Academic integrity is at the core of your academic work and should form an important basis for the way you approach your studies. And so Dr. McQueen's job is to support you in understanding issues of academic integrity. And I think it's a fabulous session to attend, because sometimes what we find is some students get in trouble in second or third year and they don't know why they get in trouble, and it's about collusion and things like that. So understanding it in your first year will help you a lot. So if you can, stay on for the Zoom session at 10 to 11 today. And Melanie, the link is there, but Melanie sent out the link to you last night, so check your email. Don't forget that we've got these drop-by sessions for you organised. We've got the Tuesday evening bring your kids session, or don't bring your kids. My kids seem to be the only ones that show up, other than a couple of others that come in and out. So come to that 7 to 8. It's for anybody. You don't have to have kids, but we do talk about what it is to be a parent and studying at the same time. Melanie's got the drop-by session for Callaghan students at 11 a.m. on Wednesday. So come for a coffee and talk about whatever you want to talk about, academic, social, or personal issues. And then at a Rimba or Central Coast campus on Thursday from 1 till 2. So there's some good opportunities. And of course, today is Building Successful Pathways. So we really want to support you in your first year. And don't forget about our Facebook page as well that you can access to get support. Okay, let's keep going. So virtual school visits. Zoe, would you like to put your hand up and ask that question you were going to ask, or that you started asking about, more about how Thursday is going to run? Okay. So if you change your mind, you can ask, because I'm not going to be checking this chat while I'm talking. It's too hard. The Facebook page, Kayla, I did give it in a few emails before. I'll send it out again today if I remember. If you type in, first year experiences, University of Newcastle, there's a Facebook page there, and you can click on that, and that's where we update you on what's happening. So have a look. I usually type this in. I'll just type it into the chat now, FYEUON, and you type that in on a Facebook and it comes up. So virtual school visits. So this week, we don't have tutorials, don't really have a lot of readings to do or anything. We have virtual school visits instead. So all the videos for those school visits have already been on discussion on Blackboard for about a week or so. So you should be able to access them. And the reason we have the virtual school visits is usually we go to schools, but last year and this year, because of COVID, we decided that we'd go online, and we decided to do that again today, this year as well. So what we focus on is, what is it to be a teacher in a school? So we know that everyone in Australia just about has experiences of being a school student. And unfortunately, that means a lot of people think that they know what it is to be a teacher. And we know this isn't true. A lot of our students, you might be one of them, also you're a parent of a school-age child, and parents also seem to think that they know how schools operate, but they often don't really know. They just know from the perspective of their child who comes home and complains about their teacher. So what we really want, the purpose of the virtual school visit is to get you an idea of how schools operate behind the scenes. What is it to be a teacher? What is it to work in a school? I know that some of you are SLSOs as well already, and that's good. You have an idea of how schools operate, but it's also even different between being an SLSO and being a school teacher. There's a big difference in responsibilities, in roles, and so forth. So the idea of the virtual school visit is to give that kind of a taster of what it is to be a school teacher. And so go online, go to those weekly activities. We've put it in the same format as usual, so it's really easy for you to follow. I thought I'd briefly have a quick chat about your working with children check clearance and the other checks. Keep going with those. There is a wait time of about a month, 4 weeks, to get any response from the professional experience unit, because they're completely inundated at the moment, because the government changed their requirements for pre-service teachers just this year and didn't give us any notice. So we've been trying to play catch up with that all year. And what the PEU is doing is they're prioritising second, third and fourth year students to get their checks, because they're going on placement. You're not. So if you do everything that you're supposed to do and you don't hear back from the PEU, just hold your horses and wait. Because there's also problems with the government's website of the PEU uploading documentation. So it's a bit of a mess. The PEU is also losing 2 of their staff members because the university restructured last year and decided they didn't need to have so many people. And so they're even more understaffed. So long as you get in, you're working with children clearance check by the end of the semester, and you do the other clearance checks that you all know about, do that as well by the end of the semester. You do your part, the rest will follow, because you absolutely cannot go on your placement next year until you have done the working with children check clearance and the other checks. So don't be coming to me next year and saying, no one told me I had to do this. I don't know how to get a working with children check. I don't have a birth certificate. You need to do it now. Yes, if you're under 18, you can't do it until you turn 18. So if you're 17, the day you turn 18, as a birthday present to yourself, go and get a working with children check. So Brianna, you don't need to tell us when you've done it at this stage, okay? You just need to do it. But I know we said originally you have to tell us. Don't tell us, because it's likely that it won't be cleared by the end of the semester for most of the students. So just, that's your responsibility at this time. We don't need to know about it, but thanks for checking in about that. Whoa, does anybody have any questions about the virtual school visit that you want to ask me before we move on? Kayla, oh no, Tori, I just wanted to make sure it was still working. Hi, good morning, Tori. Do you want to put your video and your microphone on?
Yes, how do I do the video?
I don't know. That's okay. You can just talk.
I just wanted to know, do we only have to watch one school? Because there's multiple school videos.
Yep, there's multiple school videos. I can't recall, what do the activities say? I think it says watch a few. It says watch 3.
It says you have to watch them all.
Watch them all, okay, yeah.
Okay, it's good to get a bit of a variety. They don't go for very long, I don't think. Thanks, Tori.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else that wants to ask any questions about the virtual school visit? We've got Rihanna. Hi, Rihanna. Do you want to put your video and mic on?
Hi, everybody. I can't work out how to put the...
That's okay. Ask the question.
So I know we have to watch all the videos for their activities. Is there just the 3 high schools and the 1 primary school, or am I totally missing?
No, that is correct, Rihanna. If in one of the videos, though, if you keep watching to the very end, another primary school video pops up unexpectedly.
Okay, the issue
so-
I had, and then I thought there must have been a whole lot more. That
No.
okay.
Oh, can I just throw in though, you're talking about 8.2, which is the local school partners. 8.3 has a load of other videos, actually quite a lot of which are primary, and there's some early years as well, early childhood. So if you look across 8.2 and 8.3, there's a better mix of primary and secondary and early childhood.
Thank you, Peter. And it's my understanding that for the assignment, we just choose one video.
That's correct.
Thank you.
That is correct. Thank you, Rihanna. Kayla, how are you going? I'll give you permission to talk, sorry. Hi, Kayla, how are you going?
Hey, good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good.
That's good. I was just wondering, like with the template in the virtual school visits, are those like the only notes that we're supposed to be taking, or should we also just take our own notes?
No, that's the only notes you need to take.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to take more, you can, but that's it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Tanisha, how are you going? Good morning.
Morning.
Do you have a video you want to? I like to look at people's faces when they ask questions, because what happened last week is Cassandra rocked up to me at the car park. I had no idea who she was. I haven't seen anybody. And so all I have is looking at Peter all day, and Peter's just looking at me. And we're like, well, as beautiful as Peter is, it's and his Aurora background, which is super disturbing, distracting, I should say. It would be nice to see some students' faces.
I don't think they can turn on their video.
Yeah, I don't think I can. And you probably don't want to look at me right now because I've just come back from the gym. So
fine. Okay, Tanisha. Sorry. Ask your question.
So my question was, I understand that the assignments due at the end of week 10, but I was a bit confused because on the like semester plan of like what each week is, it says Friday the 9th.
Yes, that's right. But I updated that, Tanisha, and now if you go online and look at the new one, it's the correct date.
Okay, cool. So it's the 14th?
That's correct.
Great. No worries.
That was definitely my boo-boo, but I fixed it up about 3 weeks ago.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Tanisha.
Bye.
Okay. If there's any more questions about the virtual school visits or about the course content, please ask now. And after that, we will move on. And I would like to say, I am not a very good singer. My speaking voice is painful enough, but I would like to say a really big shout out. Happy birthday to the wonderful surfer, Kayla.
Sing, come on.
I'm not singing. I want to get good feedback on this course. Oh, on the 14th of May, it's your birthday. Okay. Well, that's a nice birthday present for yourself. So we're just getting in early, I suppose, then, Kayla. Are there any other questions about the course content or virtual school visits before we move on to the assessment? Oh, Tanisha, happy birthday for tomorrow. That's good. Downhill stretch to 30. Ha ha. Hilarious, Tanisha. Wait till you're 42. Yeah, I like the Aurora too, Peter. Put the Aurora back on. Or 60.
No, I'm on the beach now.
Okay, fine.
We're talking about surfing.
If there's no more questions about the virtual school visits or the course content, let's keep moving along. Okay. LinkedIn, how's your LinkedIn profile going? I have got a few requests from students. Yes, Corey, he is on vacation. Is that like, you know, what is it, you know, in his mind or in reality? Who knows? So LinkedIn, you know, keep going with those LinkedIn profiles. I'd like you all to have a go at maybe putting a post up about what you've been doing at uni, maybe this week, something that you've learned about or something interesting that you want to share. And I'm going to make an effort to do that as well this week. So I'm a bit slack on LinkedIn, but I have been pretty active on Twitter because, you know, yesterday was Anzac Day. So all the critics come out on Anzac Day. And so I like to kind of reply to some of them. So get on Twitter or LinkedIn and start building your professional profile. Employers look at LinkedIn, by the way. A lot of recruiters look at LinkedIn. So it's a good way to start, you know, thinking about For me, I think of Facebook as being my personal page. So I'm only friends with people on Facebook who I'd be friends with in real life, or frenemies that I just want to spy on. So I put personal things up on Facebook, like, you know, a photo of my gorgeous children or my dogs or whatever. But on LinkedIn and Twitter, for me, that's my professional pages. So everything on there is super professional. I don't put photos of my dogs on Twitter or my children unless it's in a professional capacity. So LinkedIn is a really good way to build that professional footprint, digital footprint. Assignment 2 due the end of week 10, which is Friday, May the 14th. And so by the end of this week, you should have started writing your annotations. Really, you should be into it. It's week 8. You don't have tutorials. You've only got the virtual school visits. You should be using the time wisely to start going, okay, I need to write those annotations. If you can get your 6 annotations by the end of this week, at least a first draft of them, you're on the right track. Then next week, you can spend it doing the summary section. Then in week 10, you can do it editing your work and revising it against that criteria. So let's take a look. Last week, I went through the assignment 2 instructions. I went through the current issues, went through create an annotated bibliography. I went through the critical reflection on your issue and we did how to submit it, which is going to be through Turnitin. But I didn't go through the guidance. So let's have a look at that. So here are some advice and links to some useful resources. So you've got your 6 sources, you've got your 6 annotations, and you've got your critical summary, right? Okay. And in your critical summary, you need to refer to those 6 sources at least once each. Okay. So number 1, we advise you to focus on the phase of education that you are enrolled in. For example, if you're in the early years, focus on early years. However, I do know that some of you really want to do, I've got a fair few questions from high school students saying, I really want to do an early childhood. I think that's a fabulous idea. I think it's really, really good for high school students, high school teachers to know about early years. So feel free to do that. Yes, Peter.
Just to say, on the template, it asks you at the top to say which phase you're focusing on. Mm-hmm. That isn't which phase you're enrolled for, it's which phase you are going to focus on in the assignment. Yep,
great, thank you. So you can feel free to swap phases, that's fine. So choose an interest that interests you and where there is some disagreement about it or a problem with resolving it. So choose something that interests you. It doesn't have to be your life's passion, but it's just something that you go, oh yeah, I could do an assignment on that and not be totally bored after 5 minutes. And doing a disagreement is important. So I think I said before, doing something like, should corporal punishment be brought back into schools is not a good idea, because amongst experts and people who aren't totally crazy, there is no disagreement. Nobody thinks it's a good idea to whack children. Nobody who has any idea about how about psychology and how children develop think it's a good idea to whack kids to make them behave. So that would not be a good topic to do. A good topic is, should we keep going with NAPLAN? That's a good topic. Should mobile phones be banned? That's a good topic, okay? Should there be cameras in the classroom, CCTV cameras in the classroom? That's a good topic, okay? Something that there's some disagreement amongst experts, amongst people who know what they're talking about, or a problem and how it might be resolved, okay? If you choose an issue that isn't on our list of example issues, then make sure that you check with your tutor or with Peter and I that the issue you've chosen is suitable. In the past week, I have had a fair few students email us to say, hey, can I do this? And all of them have been suitable, okay? So ask. Well, they've said, this is a topic you've got, but I want to tweak it to be like this. Great, okay? But check with us first. Can I just remind everybody that if you want to email Peter and I, the absolute best email address is introtoed@newcastle.edu.au. That's the best email address to ask, to send to us. You can also ask on the discussion forum any of these questions, which is really good because then other people can read the answers as well. I have had some students email me recently. They've sent it to heather.sharp@uon.edu.au. I don't get those emails because that's not me. I am not heather.sharp@uon.edu.au. That is a student called Heather Sharp. I don't know who she is. She's never forwarded any emails on to me, but it's not me. So make sure, I can't stress this enough because someone got upset that I hadn't replied to them, but I didn't receive the email. And then we figured out that that's at UON. Make sure whenever you send an email to a staff person, it's at newcastle.edu.au. Okay. I am not Heather.Sharp student. That's not me. Okay. I'm not a student either anymore. Sad.
You're still a learner though.
I'm still a learner. Oh, yeah, I'm learning all the time, Peter. And so that's part one. Okay. Any questions about part one before we move on to part two? Okay, Kayla, I'm going to give you permission to talk. Hi, Kayla, with your surfing photo.
Hey, I was just wondering, because I'm doing mobile phones in schools, so I was wondering if it's got to be really specific to like primary school, because a lot of the sources kind of talk about secondary and primary. They don't really go into specifics. So I was wondering if you wanted me to get really specific.
No, I don't think you need to get really specific.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, and Kayla, what are those dogs that I hear in the background?
Oh, sorry, that's my sausage dog. He's barking at the German Shepherd across the road.
Oh, what is it about little dogs? They've got problems, don't they? They always want to bark at everybody.
Yeah.
And what's his name?
Fudge.
Oh, hi, Fudge. I've got four greyhounds, Kayla.
Oh.
They don't bark at anyone. They couldn't care less.
Oh. Mine thinks he owns the street. So
yeah, little dogs do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks, Kayla. See you next time you have a question. Okay, then we've got, Maddie, I'd see you've just requested me on LinkedIn. I'll do that later. Okay, part two. I can't stress enough how important it is for you as students to access support services at this university. I don't want to sound like I'm your grandmother, but when I was your age, when I was at university doing my undergraduate degree, do you know how much support there was? Zero. There was nothing offered. We had a little 20-page handbook about how to write assignments, and that was it. There was nothing else. And I thought that was a godsend. I thought, this is awesome. Then by the time I came back to uni as a lecturer, I could see that there's so much more support. So please go to the library and ask them for help. They have workshops for you as well. But every time I've been to the library, and even as a staff member, because I'm still a learner, thanks, Peter, every time I go to the library and I say, hey, I don't really know what's going on here. Could you help me find this source? Or could you explain this to me? They love to help. Okay, that's part of being a librarian. You have to do like a personality test. Do you like helping people? If the answer is yes, you get a job. Okay, so go to the library and ask them to help you find sources. They love it. That's their job. The Pathways and Academic Learning Support Centre, and our contact person is Lil Hayes. She used to be a high school English teacher, by the way. She's fabulous. I've worked with her for about 6 years. They offer fabulous support in academic writing. Please go to them, okay? No, we do not read drafts of your work, but they will, and they can provide you some guidance. So please go to them. They are the experts in supporting students in academic literacy. So an annotated bibliography entry is basically the summary section at the bottom of the Cornell note. So think about your Cornell notes and think about that bottom section. That's basically the annotated bibliography. So you may find it helpful to use the Cornell method format to make your initial notes about a source and then transfer the summary into the annotated bibliography template in the assignment 2 templates document, okay? There is lots of advice available about how to do an annotated bibliography, okay? You can type it into Google. I am a university student. How do I do an annotated bibliography? Millions of hits come up, okay? But for this assignment, and we would argue whenever you're reading sources, you're expected to be critical. You should be looking for the strengths and weaknesses in the sources relative to the issues you are focused on and your beliefs about effective education. So there's a guide from the University of New England, UNE, about how to write an annotated bibliography, and I like it. I think it's very good. So make sure that you access sources if you're not really sure. We have all this information for you here. We've got the template to guide you. If you want that little bit of extra help, library, learning support, and we've got the Cornell website for writing critical annotated bibliography and the UNE one. So read them. Take the time to go, you know what, as part of my study this week, I'm going to go through the task sheet and the templates, and I'm going to read what it is that they are asking me to do. And I'm going to read up on how do I actually do this successfully. Are there any questions about that at this point in time? Okay, part 3. Yes. Oh, Shiza. Oh, sorry for my language. Usually it's Peter. Peter, I'll leave 50 cents on your desk. Don't worry. In fact, I think
My pig.
I've got 50 cents.
I want
Although we
real
haven't
50
said anything about
cents.
swearing in a foreign language.
It
Anyway.
still counts.
Okay, it still counts. Well, someone left $2 in the meeting room, so I'll put $2 on your desk, Peter. Okay. Hi, Kirsten. I'll get onto your LinkedIn network profile soon too. Okay, part 3. Yes, you are and Tori, you are expected to use in-text citations for each source that you refer to in your reflection on your issue. Okay, so yes, you need to use in-text citations in that the end summary part. Okay, the critical reflection part. You have to use in-text citations. How do I do in-text citations? Go to the APA guide, ask the library, ask learning support. That will help you. So part 4, all of the criteria are relative to the assignment brief. So they are all important. So read them all. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Good. Okay. And then we want you to do the same as you did for assignment 1. We want you, once you've done up your assignment, your 6 annotations plus the critical reflection, go and have a look at the criteria sheet and mark yourself. And then go, oh, actually, I've only got 5 sources. I better hurry up and get that 6th one. Where did I miss that out on? Or, no, it's not critical. No, I don't have in-text citations. Yes, I am using verbose language, or what we call flowery language. Okay, how can I cut that back? So have a look at your work, critically engage with it. You can ask someone as well how to, to read it. Does it make sense? But, you need to really think about your work. And I think you should do the full assignment, put it away for a day, come back the next day and then read it with fresh eyes. Because often what we find, and I find it myself, and I write a lot, is that we know what we meant and we actually sometimes can't even see if we've missed words because we're saying it in our head. That's the way we work, right? So make sure that you leave it alone and come back to it. Are there any questions about part 4 before I then move on to the criteria? Okay, let's have a look. So this assignment is worth 40% of your mark for this course. Okay, I think that's correct, isn't it, Peter? Yep, 40%. Okay.
I thought it was 35. I may be confused.
Okay, so this assignment is worth 35% of your course mark. Thank you, everybody. It used to be 40% back last year and we changed it to 35%. So my apologies. Thank you, Casey, for correcting me, and Peter. So yes, this is worth 35%. We know this because if you add up the columns, 20 plus 10 plus 5 equals 35. So it's definitely 35%. We have 3 sets of criteria. The first one is on academic understanding. The second one is on academic writing. And the third one is student self-assessment. So again, let's go with that one. That's out of 5. So you can get 5 marks for self-assessing, which means to get a 5 out of 5, you have rated yourself against all of the criteria. So you've gone up to 1.1 to 1.4, 2.1 to 2.3, and you've given yourself a mark, okay? You can either highlight it in the section or on the left-hand column with the self-mark, okay?
You do need to indicate what you're getting on each row though. So you do need to make sure that you've made it clear that you have marked yourself against each of the criteria. So, something for 1.1, something for 1.2. And some people have been unable to highlight, but, you can put the text in bold, you can put a circle around it, you can do all sorts of things to indicate which one you're going with. You could delete the text in the ones that you're not going with, but what's important is you have indicated something on each row.
Yep. Thank you, Peter. Thanks for that clarification. And then, so that's a 5 marks to read it and think about it and jot down where you think you sit on those criteria. So let's go to academic understanding. So there's 4 different criteria. The first one is engagement with literature. That means basically that you've got your 6 sources that you need to have. All of the sources are there that you're required to do, and that they're appropriate. So if you're doing, the media article is going to stump some people, I think. I'm surprised that we have a lot of questions about what's a media article, but it has to be from 2019 onwards. So if you have a fabulous media article, but it was published in 2010, you're not going to get a good mark for that, because we need it to be current. These are about current debates in education. And even if the debate has gone on for 100 years, we want the media article to be current. The journal article is a little bit different because, for example, we've got a Michael Apple reading from 2000, for example. I mean, that can still be really relevant. Or a John Dewey reading from 1933. Now, John Dewey's not writing anymore because he's been dead for about 80 years, okay? But his stuff is still really important in how we understand education. So don't think that just because an academic source is not the most up-to-date that it's bad. So you need to be a little bit discerning with that. But the media article needs to be current. So we're going to be looking at that, okay? So that means you've engaged with the course materials and which means the 6 sources that are listed in your in the part 1 of the assignment. Understanding. So what we want now is we want to know that you understand, that you comprehend each of the 6 sources. So you can get some marks just for accurately summarizing each source within that annotated bibliography. Or can you just identify the main arguments, describe them? We really want to know that you get it, okay? Evaluation. That's a little bit what we might call reading between the lines. So you can draw conclusions about the relative strengths and limitations of your source based on weighing up the evidence. So if you get a media article that's clearly, teachers are really bad and they should have CCTV so we can see what they're doing to our children and they're horrible. If you can draw a conclusion that hey, this journalist has got an axe to grind with teachers, and we know this because of the type of language the journalist is using, such as blah, 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 then we know that you get that this is a one-sided argument, okay? And then 1.4 is a synthesis, uses theory and or conceptual frameworks to bring coherence to cited publications. So again, what that means particularly is that you understand what the author is thinking when they're writing. So you understand, what do they think about education? What do they think about the topic broadly that influences how they're writing? What's their theoretical framing of the world, okay?
Can I throw in, and importantly for the synthesis one, particularly when you get to your summary thing, it's making links between things that have been said in the different sources. So it's actually showing how they relate to each other. And the framework is trying to give you some sort of coherent way of talking about how the different sources link to each other.
Thank you, Peter. That's good, actually. I forgot to mention, make sure you're linking between the sources in that final critical summary part. In the last part, you got your 6 sources in that last big part. Make sure you're comparing, contrasting between the sources. So, for example, while source X says that mobile phones should always be used in classes and they're really fabulous, source Y considers that they're a distraction to students' cognitive learning, and for this reason. So make sure you're drawing those comparisons and contrasts between the different sources and why they might think that, okay? There was an article on the weekend actually by a historian. His name's Romain, and he was writing an article about how people aren't attending Anzac Day ceremonies anymore, and he was using data from 2015, 2016, 17, 18, and 19 to make his point. Now, in 2015, 10,000 people attended the Gallipoli Anzac Day service in Gallipoli. And in 2019, 1,900 attended. So his argument is people don't care about Anzac Day anymore, no one's going, okay? So someone on Twitter said, let's look at these stats, please, and the credibility of the author. And someone came back and said, he's a doctor and he's a senior lecturer, he's got credibility. And I came back and said, well, he also has a reputation for being super anti-Anzac in all of his publications, and he also failed to mention that in 2015 was the peak of the centenary commemorations in Australia for World War I, and there was a ticketed event to go to Gallipoli. And so everyone that would have gone overseas in the next 7 to 10 years saved up their money and went to Gallipoli so they could be part of the centenary celebrations. So by the time 2019 came around, it was back to its normal numbers of, 1900 is quite high, actually, I was surprised. So it's gone back to its normal numbers. So what you need to do is, instead of, logging onto that article and going, oh yeah, this author is right, no one cares about Anzac Day and numbers have dropped down by 78%. This proves that we shouldn't care about Anzac Day anymore. Well, it doesn't actually. It means you've got to read the statistics, and you should also go, oh, Romain, what else has he written? Oh, everything he written is anti-Anzac. Everything he writes is pro-French, anti-Australian. Okay, so now we know something more about his argument, okay? Why is he anti-Anzac? I don't know, but he comes from France and he now lives in Australia. And it's also kind of popular in the academic world to be anti-Anzac. I know this because that's my area of research. So understanding what goes on behind the scenes is really important in doing your research and writing about it. Do you agree, Peter?
Absolutely.
Cool.
You could go and read my blogs, and then you could say, he's a professor, he must know what he's talking about. And actually, you've got to say, what's the evidence base on which he has written that stuff?
Yeah.
And often it's just not there.
Isn't it, Peter? Interesting. I'll read your blogs and find out.
It's an interesting one around, professional, how much weight do you give to 30 years of professional experience?
And also, and I'm not bagging out this historian, by the way, and I think that when we see people who are scholars in their field say something, we should absolutely listen and think about they're saying it based on research, but we should also have a look at what acts they've got to grind or who's sponsored their research and some other issues like that. So make sure you're doing that within your own work. So that's academic understanding. Are there any questions about academic understanding before I move on to academic writing? No one's asking hardly any questions today. I'm feeling a bit sad. Can you all still hear me?
Yeah.
You can, Peter. Any other questions? We can hear you. Thanks, Keely. Thanks, Charmaine. Thanks, Tanisha. Jessica. Okay, I'm going to take a sip of water and then we'll go on to academic writing. I heard some people were worried that I was going to not make it to the end of the semester. I want to assure you all, I will definitely make it to the end of the semester, okay? So I will be with you for the entire time. My baby is due in end of July and semester finishes June, so I'll definitely be here for you. I won't just leave you. Okay, academic writing. There's 3 sets of sub-criteria. One is clarity of communication in professional English. Now, this is where in this kind of academic writing criteria is definitely where learning support can help you. So clarity of communication. So none of the following apply. Long sentences, grammatically incorrect, and no incorrect terminology. Oh, thank you. I haven't seen that app, peterhemingwayapp.com. I'll check it out. So if you read back into your work and you've got a sentence that stretches over 3 or 4 lines, often you could probably reduce that. The art of academic writing, unless you're James Joyce writing Ulysses, which none of you are, is to write short, sharp sentences, okay? So if you've got one that goes over 4 lines, have a read of it and think, does it need to be this long or can I truncate it? Can I either take some words out so it's got fewer words, okay, so I'm not using verbose or flowery language, or should I put a full stop? Have I said something, 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 and something, something, and something, something, and, okay? Go to all of those ands and think, can I put a full stop here instead, delete the and start a new sentence? Not always. You can't always do that, but sometimes, and in fact, I think often you can. So have a think about it and then think, if I did do that, does it still make sense? Does it still say what I want it to say? So the idea is make those sentences a little bit less long. See if you can reduce your amount of words in it. Look at the feedback that you were given on assignment 1, for example, because in assignment 1, I know that some people used lots of words when they could have used 5, they used about 20. Be short, sharp, and succinct with what you're saying, okay? And Charmaine, let's have a look. Hi, Charmaine, how you going?
Hi there. So I was just wondering if you could give us a little bit more insight into, I guess, some tips on how to write critically. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I was just thinking about your question. Yeah, so Charmaine, you know, one thing that you can do to write critically is to understand first of all, you need to understand the competing arguments of who's saying what.
Yeah.
So one way to write critically in that final section is A, be clear in your own mind what your opinion is. Based on all the evidence, what have you come up with? Okay. And then an example that you can do, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, so I'm just thinking, is, you know, whilst Sharp writes that mobile phones should be used in the classroom whenever the students want, comma, Twining disagrees and says mobile phones should be banned from schools because they cause a distraction. Other research says that facilitated use of apps on mobile phones is fabulous for student learning. So what you're presenting is 3 different opinions, okay? And then you can say how you fit within that. Does that help?
Well, and importantly, I think when you're looking at those 3 different things, you're then saying, so what's the evidence base on which Sharp has said using mobile phones is great? And what's the evidence base on which Twining, which you would never say, said using mobile phones is always a bad thing? And so it's then weighing up. So, you know, Sharp has said it on the basis of, you know, she's been in 3 classrooms and it was a disaster. Whereas Twining has said it on the basis of you know, having looked at all the literature, and he's quoted lots of research, and he's done an in-depth study, and so he's got much more, you know, much more solid and robust evidence base than Sharp has got. Or it might be you're saying, actually, Twining's talking about primary schools and Sharp's talking about secondary schools, and I'm interested in secondary schools. So probably what Sharp is saying may be more relevant to my context. So it's all those issues about how credible is the evidence base, how relevant is it to my context, what they're saying. And it's just that idea of you just don't just take stuff at face value. You're always weighing it up and trying to unpack it and say, do I really believe this? Is it credible? Does it relate to my context in a sensible way?
Okay, thank you.
Casey, I noticed that you're posting lots of links. We're not asking the students to do an essay in this. This is not an essay, okay? Just be clear to everyone who's looking at those links that Casey's posting. When we're not asking you to do an essay, it's definitely not an essay. It's a critical summary at the end, okay? You can use some of those guides from Learning Support, which we've already provided with you anyway, so that's great. But remember, we're not writing an essay. Yes, Casey?
Yeah, so just that first link that I provided, even though, yes, it's focusing more on an essay process, it shows an example of how you can, they give like a highlighted example of how you can show one resource versus another. And like, yes, as you said, it's not an essay.
Yeah,
but
so thanks for that, Casey. And also on the sheet that I just showed you guys, we've linked you to the UNE website and the Cornell Method website that really explain what we need you to do there. Okay, so make sure you're doing that. Charmaine, did you have any more questions about the assignment?
No, I didn't.
Are you happy with that answer?
Yes, I am.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So continuing on with the academic writing, the structure of the response means to get the highest mark, the high distinction, it means that there's no improvements needed. And then we go down the scale from there. So make sure you're making your sentences, your structure is fine. Your annotated bibliography fulfills the requirements. And I know lots of you used Teal or Peel for your first assignment critical part. I think it's still fine to use that Teal or Peel for the critical annotated bibliography as well. It's a good little structure. So that's fine as well. And you might find as you progress in your university studies that you start using Peel or Teal in a little bit more of a sophisticated way. So you're kind of explaining the issue without saying, this paragraph will tell you about this. you started off by saying, you know, mobile phones are a contentious issue, and then continuing on. So we know that the whole thing is about mobile phones, or online technologies are a contentious issue, okay? So then we have the third one is APA 7 referencing. So make sure that you follow APA 7, both in-text citations and your references at the end of the text, and get them correct. You know, there's so many guides available that you can definitely access those and check them. Whenever I'm doing referencing, and I have to do referencing all the time for articles that I write and book chapters and things, I don't have a referencing fairy. So, you know, the textbook that you've read, the chapters of mine, I had to do all that referencing. Sure, I had an editor to make sure I did it correctly, but I've got to input them in the first place, okay? So I know the pain, everyone knows the pain of referencing, but it's actually really important. It's a very important part of academic writing, because by referencing, you're saying, these are not all my own ideas. This is where I got them from, okay? So I can see, did you get this from the New Idea, or did you get this from the Guardian or the New York Times, okay? So that's why we need to make sure that we're following APA. And Peter has just put up a library guide there for you, okay? Are there any questions about the academic writing criteria? Are there any questions about the criteria as a whole? Are there any questions about the assignment? Are there any questions about the course? Or would you like to just chat about something? Or would you like to know something? Kayla. Hi, Kayla again.
Hey, sorry, I just remembered a question I had about the sources for the assignment.
Yep.
So with like the meme or picture part of it, does it have to be like from an Australian source, or can it be like American?
No, Kayla, we've been getting this question a bit actually, so I'm glad you've raised it. So people are asking, does it have to be an Australian source? Nowhere in the criteria sheet or in the task sheet does it say that any of your sources need to be Australian. So in fact, you can use all international sources if you like. So it needs to be a still image in your case, or a newspaper article, or a news item, but it does not need to be Australian whatsoever. No.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, if you're doing a topic about Anzac Day, for example, and you don't have any Australian sources, then the marker would think, I wonder why you don't have any Australian sources when you're talking about Anzac Day. That would seem a little bit weird. So make sure you use the sources appropriate to your topic. Should the Australian national anthem be taught in schools? If you've got 0 Australian references, that would probably do a few alarm bells. But you don't have to have Australian sources whatsoever.
Is that a current issue?
No, I was just using it as an example. Shut up. I'm doing the best I can. But Anzac Day is a current issue, and it comes up every Anzac Day. It was in the newspaper on the weekend or somewhere about something. Oh, Simpson. I think Simpson and his donkey came up again. Do you know Simpson and his donkey, Peter?
No.
No, keep it that way. Well, I can't believe that we don't have any questions left, because normally we're going over time. I'd like you guys to try to get to the Building Successful Pathways session, which is on immediately after this at 10 o'clock. And you can zoom into that. And it's an important topic because Dr. Suzanne McQueen is talking about academic integrity. So, Peter, what do you think? If there's no more questions, should we give them an early mark?
We just say bye-bye.
Okay. Thanks, everyone, for coming along today. Hope you have a great week. Make sure you're emailing us with any questions or putting them on the discussion forum. Thanks, Kayla. You're welcome. So goodbye. I'm going to go back and eat my chocolates. Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Tori. And thank you,
Bye, everyone.
someone else. Tanisha, everyone. Thank you, Tanisha. I will enjoy those chocolates. See you, Lily and Emma and Brianna. And Tian, goodbye. Can you wait on the line for a minute, Peter?
Yep. I shall pause the recording.
Oh, cool. Good idea. See you, Yang. See you, Maddie. Building system pathway recorded this week.